Hello and welcome back to the CQC video tutorial series. In this video, we are going to pick up where we left off last time looking at the ZWave driver. This is the second in a series of videos on the ZWave driver. And in the previous video, what we had done was to get the driver installed and get it added to the ZWave network. So we really just, at this point, just have two units in our list here. One is the master controller itself, which in our case, as we saw in the previous video, is this Vizia RF software-based master controller. And the other is us, our own driver. So you can see here that we are ID 25. So both of those are disabled as previously mentioned. There's nothing that we need to interact with these about. So what we're going to do in this video is begin to look at different types of units. The first type we're going to look at is the wall power type. These are far and away the most convenient and the fastest and the easiest to understand and deal with. So we'll start with those. So what I'm going to do here is just to add a wall powered unit to the master controller. This one is just going to be a simple dual outlet unit. It just provides a kind of two left and right side power outlet that you can control separately. So first we need to add it to the master. I'm just going to press include as usual. And now I'm going to press a button on the unit. And that tells the master to add it. I'll call this one just dual out. In this case, this controller, for whatever reason, they do not pass these names here out to the unit, even if the unit supports naming. So we don't pick these names up automatically when you're using this particular master controller. So now let's go ahead and get that into the ZWave driver, and that is done just by re-including us again. You'll notice nothing showed up here automatically, and there's no fields or anything for that dual outlet here in the driver. So we just need to do the include step again. So we do include. In this case, it goes considerably quicker because it's not doing the secure stuff. And it continues to pop up the what would you like to name it dialog. We just won't change that. And now you see that there is a new unit, and we did not pick up the name as mentioned, so it just gets a default unit. And you can see here that it is in wait approved state. And what that means, and all these states are documented in the driver's written documentation, but that just means that we identified it, and if you want to approve it, go ahead and do that and we'll start using it. And it identified it as an Innovelli in ZW37. So it knows what it is, it knows what the options are, so you can see the name and then the option to name the two outlets here. So let's go ahead and enable this guy. Or approve it, I mean. And now that we approve it, it is ready. And you can see in the driver over here that it showed up with the names that we would expect. These are not V2 specific names since there's no V2 functionality involved here. So it's just the name and underscore outlet 1, outlet 2. We can rename those, of course, so let's do that. I'll just call it dual out again on our side. And I'll just call these left and right. Oops. And now you can see up here that we have changes, so we need to save those. And if we go back to the driver, it's reloading now. And you can see now that we have dual out left and dual out right, and they are currently false. And when we auto-identified the unit, we got all of the setup information from the auto-identification information that comes with the driver. And so it's all set up and it's associated with our driver, so it should send us notifications of changes. So if I press the button, and we should see these go to true since it's on now, and there they go. So all of that is set up. So in terms of getting a wall powered unit into the system, that's basically what's involved in almost all cases. It's just how do you trigger the inclusion on the device. It's a little different in each case. While we have a easy to use unit, let's go ahead and look at a few other things. Because it is wall mounted, that means that, or wall powered, that means that everything that we want to do with it, we can do because it's available right now to listen to us. You know, it has enough power to keep its transmitter on and its listener on all the time. So you can interact with it very easily. So let's look at the drop-down menu while we're here. And this has some things that you can do to manually set up the unit. In some cases, you may need to do this. The auto configuration stuff that we did associated it to the driver, and it sent out any setup that it needs and did any associations that it needs. So all that stuff got done for you, but in some cases you might need to do that. In this case, this particular unit does not support any configuration parameters, so that's grayed out. We can query unit info, and this is something that you would typically do if you have a unit that we don't support. And this will just grab a bunch of information for us that we need, and you can send this to us. You can save it to a file and just send that. And you can manage associations and things yourself. So in this case, if we go set group 1 and do query, we'll see 25, which is us. If we see over here, the driver is ID 25, so it's set up to report changes to us. It won't always be group 1. There are various groups, and that just depends upon the unit. You have to, if you're doing this manually, you have to look up this information. You can see down here that there is a checkbox that says this unit is awake now. We know this is a wall-powered unit, so this is disabled and checked. But as we move into the next video and look at battery-powered units, this becomes important. And you can also look at some unit notes. Some of them have it. This one just says that it's also available branded by some other companies, but it would always show up as this Innovelli thing because it's basically, they're the same exact unit. So we would get the same manufacturer IDs, and we would identify it the same. And the one here is rescan unit. We won't do it here, but if, for instance, you had to select a generic handler for this temporarily because we don't have any built-in support for it, while we're working on adding the support, you can use a generic handler in many cases. And then once you get the update that has the support in it, you could just do a rescan unit that would force it back to ground zero. It would start querying the information from the device again, and it would identify it correctly, and you can move on from there. So that's basically it. That's part 2, and this is the easy stuff. We'll get into the more complicated things as we move forward into the next video, where we get into battery-powered units. There are some intermediate ones like locks that are battery-powered but semi-on all the time, and then there are real battery-powered units that are actually can be quite annoying to deal with. So we'll see you in the next video.